Good morning. I'm Steve Glaudet, President and CEO of the Coalition for Nonprofit Housing and Economic Development, or CNHED as we are known. And as I am introducing myself, I'd like to introduce our Senior Director of this initiative that we are here to talk about today, Phil Burkhardt, who's over here. Phil, thanks so much for all your work. I am delighted to welcome everyone to celebrate a milestone of an initiative that we have co-convened with the Mayor's Office of Planning and Economic Development, or DMPED as we know it, done in collaboration with the Council Committee on Business and Economic Development, and has been personally championed by at-large Councilman Kenyon McDuffie, who's on his way and should be joining us shortly. And he also chairs that committee on the council. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the mayor, her team, as well as Councilman McDuffie and his team for not only their support of this initiative, but actually their broader support of all the work that CNHED does that includes housing, human services, workforce development, research, and more. So please, can we give the mayor and Councilman McDuffie in his absence a round of applause for their support of that. This initiative is about marrying our large institutions and our MBE community in the district. And just to give a framing for the room that's here, I would love our institutional reps to raise your hand so we can see the eds and meds and utility company reps that are here. And most importantly, our MBE community. So can our MBE businesses, not just the ones who are up here, but those in the audience, can you raise your hand so we can acknowledge the hard work that you do? Before we hear from the mayor, I'd just like to briefly frame this work that we've been doing for the last 6 years. 6 or so years ago, many thought leaders, including some that are mentioned and some that are here, saw the spending power of our district universities, health systems, and utility companies as a tool to fuel the growth of minority firms in the district. In 2017, we learned that just then our eds and meds collectively procured $2 billion annually. And without running numbers, their local spend was relatively low, and their minority spend was even, as you would imagine, much lower. And although these numbers show a clear inequity when compared to their demographics of the area, these large institutions were meeting their procurement goals and standards, and they had little reason to pause or pivot and focus on our minority firms. But when we raised the proposition that their spending power could actually address some of the city's systemic problems, their embrace was near immediate, and we began to work with them to engineer relationships. And that is what the intentionality and dedication that we're looking for in this. And so in 2017, we launched the DC Community Anchor Partnership, at that time with 4 institutions: Georgetown University, Bridgepoint Hospital, Children's National Medical, and Sibley Hopkins. Our anchor institutions deserve a lot of credit for their participation in DCAP. It is a huge undertaking for them, but they continuously embrace what is required to achieve the high impact outcomes, such as the ones we're here to celebrate today. And notably, our MBEs should be commended for their willingness to re-engage these institutions despite having little success in past decades. DCAP works because of institutions' willingness to change and businesses' willingness to try again. Together, we examine procurement policies, programs, and processes of our anchor institutions. We put together the most comprehensive MBE database in the district to ensure our institutions that there was capacity in the MBE community. We partnered with Johnson & Cooper Consulting, a local CBE, ladies please raise your hand, MBE, whose previous history of work was doing this for Verizon for over 20 years. We knew we weren't procurement experts, and we knew we weren't minority supplier experts, and we went out and got the A-team to help us to do that. This work is not easy, as there are definable barriers for our MBEs when trying to meet the supplier and service needs of our large institutions, as well as legitimate barriers for the institutions in restructuring their approaches, requirements, and practices in order to reach our MBEs. But we stayed with it. We have grown now from 4 to 13 institutions whose logos are displayed on our screen here and are also proudly displayed on our website. In a moment, you will hear about an encouraging milestone that this work has reached from the mayor. Though I am proud, and though I am so proud to share this news before our mayor and others speak, I just want to take a moment to honor again our anchor reps, and our MBEs. So if you're an anchor rep or MBE, please just raise your hand again so we acknowledge the hard work. Stand, if you will, so we can acknowledge it. Thank you so much for everything that you do. And lastly, I want to applaud our multi-sector advisory board, who gives us high-level insights within their sectors, which include higher ed, health, finance, procurement, and well. And then lastly, I just want to quickly mention our private sector investors that include J.P. Morgan Chase. Nadine, are you here? I didn't see you come in. She's our program manager at J.P. Morgan Chase, and also Wells Fargo Bank, and then Kaiser Permanente. Laura, where are you and your teams that we can recognize you? Laura, thank you so much for recently becoming an investor in DCAP. I want to introduce, I think, the most appropriate person to introduce the mayor. I think that he embodies what we're trying to do in DCAP and who we're trying to help. And this is a very short story about how I met him. Years ago when I worked in the mayor's office, my staff came and said a Ward 7 resident wanted to meet me, and I said, of course. And Mr. Little came in the door, and I said, how can I help you? And he said, I have started a basketball league in Ward 7. And I'm like, that's great. A lot of people start basketball leagues and so forth. And I said, what's special about your league? And he said, to play in my league, you have to take job training or skill development in certifications in order to play. I started the league to keep my friends from turning to gangs, drugs, and jail. But I wanted to make it more than just an athletic experience. So anyway, I said, that's great, gave him some ideas about fundraising. And of course, I left the mayor's office and lost touch with him for maybe about 1.5 years or 2 years. He found me, Nadine, late. Nadine Duplessis Kearns from JP Morgan Chase. I just thanked you, but you just walked in, so I wanted to acknowledge. And so back to Shinar. So he found me about 1.5 years, 2 years into this job, and he said, Mr. Glade, can I come see you again? And I'm like, sure. And I'm thinking he's coming to talk to me about basketball. So he comes in, my first question is, how's the league going? He goes, the league's fine, but that's not why I'm here to talk to you. And I said, what's up? And he said, I realized that it made no sense for me to make people take job training or job certification classes if there weren't jobs for them. So I started a facilities maintenance company. And I'm very proud to say that this Ward 7 resident, visionary, community engagement person has now started a facilities maintenance company. It's been going for a number of years. He was the first DCAP business that we recruited, and he was first DCAP business to get a contract at Georgetown University. And the basketball league was special because of what it required people to do. His company is special in so many amazing ways. His employees take emotional intelligence classes once a month. He focuses on their future career development. Somebody pushing a mop 2 years ago is now a site manager or a senior manager, and that's who DCAP is trying to help. So please join me in welcoming Shinar Little, who is going to introduce our mayor.
Thanks, everyone. Good afternoon. How y'all doing today? This is a very nervous moment for sure. I'm not gonna lie. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Steve, for the kind remarks and introduction. I don't take this lightly to be up here as a Ward 7 native. My family been in Ward 7 since the 1950s. So, as Steve said, I'm Shinar Little. I'm the founder and owner of Fog Hill, Inc. We are a facilities management company headquartered here in Washington, D.C., right in Ward 7. Fog Hill manages facilities by providing the following services: HVAC, plumbing, electrical, as well as painting and janitorial, and landscaping. All right. Currently, we, as Steve said, we were the first one to come through with our contract with Georgetown through the DCAP initiative, but we've also worked with other vendors as well that through the DCAP, other partners such as Sibley Hospital and Children's National. We have also, some of our other clients outside the DCAP has also been some of the K through 12 charter schools and private schools, as well as the Minkiti Group, one of the largest development companies here in Washington, D.C. We are so grateful to be a part of DCAP. Beyond winning contracts, DCAP has done so many other things for us. It has taught us how large institutions approach their work and meet their needs. And that's very important when you're trying to work with an institution, because it's one thing to just say, hey, how can we do work with them? But it's another thing when you can actually show past performance and have that capacity to actually conceal what you can do. So it has taught us how to compete at a higher level. It has taught us how to market ourselves and plan growth and more. It's privileged me to introduce the mayor today. But before I introduce Mayor Bowser, I would like to thank Mayor, the Councilmember McDuffie, Demped, and Miss Cook. I also like to thank all of the partners for playing a part of this, because for all of the small businesses, and I'm speaking for all of us today, that I understand the toll that we all take trying to fight that barrier that is ahead of us all with trying to do work with institutions. So I thank all of the other MBEs, the other CBEs, as well as the DCOP partners. Thank you. Without your support, businesses like Falk Hill would not get the kind of support and opportunities that I just described. With that, please join me in welcoming our mayor, Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Give Shannara a big round of applause. And I like that you wear your cap, Fog Hill. And I like that it's green, like it's winning. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm delighted to be here to celebrate this, and that I will announce, wonderful milestone for DCAP. I'm also happy to be here with anchor partners, with businesses that are evolving and growing because of this partnership, and with future partners, perhaps, who are in the room. Steve said it all so well, but what I particularly like about DCAP is it's really a simple concept, isn't it? It is, we have great businesses with great ideas, with great employees who are invested in the District of Columbia. We have businesses who need work done at their businesses, and they need good employers or contractors to do it. And sometimes they just need a match. It's also a simple concept here that's human nature. Sometimes big companies, they keep working with the same companies, no particular reason, but it's kind of inertia. And they need to be introduced to new companies and new concepts. And sometimes they find that they can do their work differently and better because they've been introduced to new talent. So we learned that lesson when we produced the Green Book in DC government that said to all of our agencies, look, we're a $20 billion enterprise. We should be working with our businesses. We set big goals, and because we set those goals, we went from $300 million to spend with our small and local businesses to over $1 billion of spend every year in the time that I've been mayor. And so I know that is also the potential of DCAP. DCAP says we have great businesses who are looking for work in the private sector, and we have great companies who want to hire them. And so that is how we will close the gaps in our city. And I know, Keith, this has been your work in DC government. And now as deputy mayor, really focused on how we can use our procurement power to grow our businesses. And when I say close the gap, the wealth gap between blacks and whites in the city has only grown. So our intentionality about keeping money circulating in this city and hiring DC residents is particularly important. And so I just want to congratulate all of the businesses who have been partners. I feel like we're also going to learn from the work of the Coalition for Nonprofit Housing and Economic Development, even better ways to engage our businesses so that the government's using its spending power and the fantastic businesses that we have in our city are growing. We know that they're great examples. You just heard Shannar's. I was also just briefed on old friend Victor Holt and his success with DCAP. And he won, I understand, as one of the first contracts with Georgetown University after being connected with their sourcing director. He, of course, executed on that contract and has since won multiple contracts with Georgetown University since. So please give Victor and BTech Solutions A round of applause. Also, Medea Brown. Where's Medea? Medea and Brand Dyer. Is a marketing company that has won multiple contracts with DCAP institutions and has built award-winning strategic communications in the process. So give Medea a big round of applause. I just heard about this fantastic woman-owned consulting company, so I want to get your information as well. Sign us up. We know now that since 2017, the results speak for themselves. In 2017, the 4 anchor institutions that were mentioned spent about $5 million through DCAP. And today, 6 years later, I'm pleased to announce that there are 13 anchor institutions, and they now have spent over $250 million with DC minority-owned companies. So from $5 million to $250 million. And we know that with that, more DC residents are working, more tax dollars stay in the district, and there's more ability for them to grow. So I want to announce today that a new anchor partner has joined, and I think Steve already mentioned one of my favorites, Kaiser Permanente. So welcome, Kaiser Permanente, to the fold as well. So with that, congratulations to CNHED, to everybody involved in DCAP, and I also want to acknowledge my team, the Deputy Mayor's Office, Deputy Mayor Keith Anderson, and Sabangale Cook, who is the Director of Business Development, who do this each and every day. So with that, I want to say thank you, and I know that Steve is going to introduce our anchor partners.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mayor, for that acknowledgement for the milestone that we've reached. We have some of our businesses up here, but I really want you all to hear from the anchors that are doing this work. So I'm going to introduce them all at once. President Gaddis from DC Water, and I've got Kimberly Russo from George Washington University Hospital, and Cal Watson from Georgetown University. So President Gaddis, Kimberly, Cal.
Thank you all very much. It is my pleasure to be here today and represent DC Water, also known as Team Blue at DC Water. So I want to say good morning to you. And we are very, very happy to be one of those anchor institutions and utilities working with DC Community Anchor Partnership. Before I get started and talk about anything, I want to first of all thank Mayor Bowser. Thank you very much for not only support of this program, but also the support of DC Water. Without you, we would not be able to do the things that we do every single day. So thank you very much. And even though that Council Member McDuffie is not here, I want to thank him as well for his support of DC Water as well. One person I want to make sure I thank as well, he's a great employee for us at DC Water. He's here today, and he's one of the reasons that we're here, and we're one of those. We're in this partnership that we're in, and that's Corey Gray. Is Corey around? Corey around? Corey. Corey is Vice President of Contract Compliance and also Business Development for us at DC Water, who serves as the authority's liaison with DCAP. I will tell you, 5 years ago, I met Corey. And in those early days when I met Corey, one of the things we talked about was the DC Water Minority Business Program, which was pretty much non-existent at the time. And we talked about building that up. We talked about my vision, and we talked about our mission. And we've been on that journey together for the last 5 years, and he has led the authority in that journey. And it has been fantastic. We've received many awards for the work that we've done. So, Corey, I want to personally thank you very much for your efforts. Thank you. I am honored to play a role in leveling the economic playing field here in the district. It is something I'm very proud of and something that we do at DC Water every day. But collectively, with DCAP and the anchor members, we contribute to some of the numbers that the mayor just talked about. DC Water has been a strong supporter of DCAP and its efforts. We will continue to be a strong supporter and member of DCAP as well. In FY 2022, we at DC Water spent $229 million, or 40% of DC Water's capital contracts and subcontractors were awarded these monies, and also certified firms. We spent $105 million of that money was spent with district-based certified DBEs and WBEs, $105 million. So this has been quite an accomplishment, I think, for us and also with DCAP as well. At the same time, the authority is achieving its goals and increasing the total number of firms getting work with us. 50 district certified firms we now do work with, when it was very little in the past. We also, our main goal is to turn those 50 firms into primes. That's our goal. We don't want them to be subcontractors forever. We want to change them into primes. We, in 2022, turned 50 of those firms into 6 of them became prime contractors with DC Water. And that was due to the hard work of all the employees. What does equity look like at DC Water? That's something that, you know, I think that we talk about at DC Water every single day. And what does equity look like? And what does it look like, you know, for our customers, for example? Equity for our customers at DC Water is to be able to be lead-free and not drink from a lead line. Equity in DC for us, or in DC Water, also means infrastructure upgrades for the underserved neighborhoods. Equity at DC Water also means customer assistance programs for those that are underserved, that are not able to pay their water bills on a monthly basis. That's what equity means to us. What does equity mean to our employees? Equity to our employees means that we have a senior executive team that looks like the community that we serve and the employees that work for us as well. Equity at DC Water also means an emphasis on people, place, and pay. Equity at DC Water also means career training and leadership development opportunities at DC Water. But last but not least, equity at DC Water for the community means improved access to contract opportunities and small and local minority-owned businesses. Equity at DC Water also means DC Water works with apprenticeship programs to bring in employees, not only employees in up-and-coming positions, but to start out at DC Water, and also returning citizens here in the district. And equity at DC Water also is community engagement through the Stakeholder Alliance program and also the Business Diversity program that we've stood up at DC Water. That's a lot to coordinate at any given time at DC Water or in any organization. And as a result, one of the things I talk about with our employees is one band, one sound. And that's that musical metaphor for all of us to be on the same page and be coordinated at all the time. We would not be able to achieve the goals without that one band and that one sound. We would also not be able to achieve these goals without DCAP. So I want to thank DCAP, and I applaud you for the work that you've done. Continue to do what you do. We at DC Water will continue to stand behind you and be with you. Thank you very much.
Please be short. Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for being here. I'm Kimberly Russo. I'm the CEO of GW Hospital and the Vice President for the DC region for Universal Health Services. First and foremost, we greatly appreciate the support of Mayor Bowser as well as Councilman McDuffie who joining us today, but also to you, Steve, really engaging the anchor partners and really getting us around this issue. I want to thank the team at the Coalition for Nonprofit Housing and Economic Development. Without you, we would not be standing here today with all of your hard work. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to recognize everyone's incredible efforts in supporting this important work. GW Hospital has partnered with CNHED's Community Anchor Partnership Initiative since August 2020. While it's only been 2 years, the teams at the GW Hospital Procurement Division and CNHED we've been meeting quarterly to look at the work that we can do in order to make an impact. A key priority has been to identify upcoming contract opportunities at the hospital that are DC-based, minority-owned businesses that can compete for us as a prime. In fiscal year 23 alone, we've been introduced to more than 25 qualified local minority-owned suppliers in categories requested by my procurement team, such as custodial services, general contracting, construction management, staffing services, marketing, and communications. Simply from a healthcare system perspective, this work and our partnership is crucial in advancing the equity and inclusion in the procurement processes, but also for economic development. We're thrilled to do this work. We're thrilled to be a partner with CNHED and DC CAP, and the DC Community Anchor Partnership Initiative is so important. And together, we will continue to find solutions for this important cause and make a difference. With that, I thank you, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Cal. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you here today to celebrate DCAP and our collective work to support DC-based minority-owned business enterprises and equitable economic development in the district. On behalf of Georgetown University, I'm deeply grateful to Mayor Bowser and to Councilmember McDuffie for your leadership, vision, and investment in this important initiative. Georgetown has been proud to be a part of DCAP since its inception, and we joined for two main reasons. First, as a Jesuit Catholic university, Georgetown is committed to promoting the common good, which includes advancing racial justice and equity. Our engagement with DCAP and our efforts to increase support for diverse suppliers is an important expression of this commitment. Second, we recognize Georgetown's role as an anchor institution in the district. For more than 2 centuries, Georgetown has called DC home. We have a responsibility to help create inclusive economic opportunities and equitable growth here. The DCAP team has been instrumental in our work. DCAP has helped us to review our procurement policies and practices and to develop a new approach for finding and engaging DC-based MBEs. With DCAP's guidance and support, Georgetown launched a formal supplier diversity program to identify, support, and engage with diverse suppliers. We've created an online resource center for diverse suppliers to learn more about the university's sourcing and procurement processes. We've also developed relationships with the MBEs by hosting diverse supplier events and business fairs on campus and participating in DCAP events that have brought together DCAP members and MBE leaders. At the same time, inside Georgetown, we're providing resources for departments and business offices on how to support, source, and select diverse suppliers in different sectors. And we're engaging department leaders on how to integrate diverse suppliers into the procurement process. And we've created a supplier diversity council of leaders across the university to facilitate these efforts. And I want to thank Orlando Jones and Shana Arthur and our whole strategic sourcing and procurement team for their work in advancing these efforts on campus. The DCAP team has been with us every step of the way, and your collaboration and expertise has been invaluable. We'd like to thank DCAP's co-conveners, the Office of the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development, and the Coalition for Nonprofit Housing and Economic Development. Steve, you've been the biggest advocate and champion of DCAP from the beginning, and we're grateful for your leadership. So thank you again, Mayor Bowser, for your continued support, and we look forward to continuing to work with the DCAP team, our fellow anchor institutions, and the MBE community to foster inclusive and equitable growth here in the District of Columbia across all of our wards. Thank you.
Fantastic. And I want to thank all the anchor partners. You see their strategic thinking, engaging the right departments and decision makers at their university, setting some goals and holding everybody accountable for going through their process. And that's how you go from 5 million to 250 million. I also want to acknowledge our friends here at Washington Gas. I want to thank Brandon Todd and Jim Steppes. Give them a round of applause for hosting us. And perhaps a new anchor partner for DCAP. A very strategic location choice. Very strategic. I like it. And now I think we can take some questions on topic.
Mayor, quick question about is there an incentive here? Do they get any tax incentives or other incentives to be a part of this?
No, they don't. Not any district. What they get is the consulting and procurement services that we provide at no cost to the institution. So just to frame it a little, in other cities where this work is done, the organizations like mine charge the institution for the help that we provide. We did not think in the beginning that there was really a market or an appetite for that. We thought we needed to prove ourselves, so we asked the mayor to invest and the council to invest and our private sector partners to invest. And so what they get is a healthy amount of free technical assistance, planning, MBE vetting, and matching for the services that they need.
Some cities they have to pay for this. Is it?
Yeah, so if you look at Chicago and if you look at some of the other cities who were what I call first generation anchor initiatives, the model was that an entity like CNHED would design a initiative and then they would charge the institutions for participation and for the services that they need. And we do not do that. Everything that we provide, because we're subsidized by the mayor and the council and our private sector partners, everything is free to the institutions.
And what do you do to, let's say, find the MBEs? What do you do there?
Early on, we knew that we needed to paint a picture of our MBE community in Washington, so we invested in developing what is now the most comprehensive, up-to-date MBE database in the District of Columbia. We needed to give the institutions not only a snapshot, but a sense of confidence that we had the capacity. And what was interesting about developing the database is we did procurement analysis first with the institutions to identify what come out to about 9 categories of procurements that institutions might need. It's construction, it's sub-construction, it's IT, it's cybersecurity, it's janitorial, it's maintenance. And then we overlaid that with the district's MBE community. And I remember that day very well, because if there was no overlay between MBE capacity and service needs, it was going to be a really short conversation. As it turned out, there is actually great capacity in our MBE community in those 9 categories that are the prime categories that our institutions need.
Off-topic question, if we're willing
No.
to take those? Okay.
Later. All right. Thank you much, everybody.